Hi, friends. I'm joining you amid Hyperborean scenes from Dublin, New Hampshire. There is legitimately 8 inches of snow on the ground, and it is Friday, April 16th. I have recently had my first Moderna vaccine shot last week, so I'm optimistic about that, but this weather is more than a little bit gruesome. Fortunately, I just had a really wonderful conversation with my friend Kartik Sakthivel, who is the CIO of LIMRA and LOMA, one of the oldest not-for-profit insurance organizations in the world. I think for those of us who are focused on insure tech and innovation, it's extremely important sometimes to get a pulse on what the industry is actually thinking about today as we think about startups to invest in. If you're interested in the space, you're not going to want to miss any of this. So without further ado, I will turn us over to the conversation. Thanks. Kartik, thanks for making the time today. It's great to see you.
It's great to see you too, Fraser. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the time.
Fantastic. So we're delighted to have you on the show, I suppose, for lack of a better word. And I think it would be great for the viewers who might not know who you are, just to share a little bit more about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, thank you. I like to say I have the best job in the world because I do. My name is Kartik Sakthivel, and I serve as the Vice President and Global Chief Information Officer of LIMRA, LOMA, SRI, and LL Global.
Fantastic. Now we have a fairly insurance savvy audience, but I suspect some people might not know what LIMRA and LOMA are. So could you take us through, briefly? I know it's quite a large organization, but the history and mission would be helpful.
Oh yeah, happy to. I love talking about LIMRA and LOMA, so happy to do that. So LIMRA and LOMA essentially is the largest and oldest non-advocacy, not-for-profit trade association on the planet, right? We operate in 71 countries. We have members in 69 countries. We have about 1,400 members. Um, and most carriers in North America, most registered carriers in North America are members of LIMRA or LOMA or LIMRA and LOMA and LL Global. So LIMRA and LOMA merged in 2007, 2008 timeframe, essentially forming a single industry trade association that offers the totality of services from an insurance perspective, right? So our three focus areas are life insurance and annuities, group and worksite benefits, and retirement. And the way it shakes out, Fraser, is LIMRA's focus is everything, if you say front of the house, right? So home office. So distribution, agents and advisors, primarily on the captive side. And we are renowned for our best-in-class industry research, right? So we are the research organization for the industry, 100% member-owned and member-supported. I will also say we do benchmarking, best-in-class benchmarking. LOMA is effectively a university in life insurance and annuities and retirement. So you can get your associates, you can get your bachelor's, essentially your master's degree in insurance, right? LIMRA is 105 years old, based in Windsor, Connecticut. LOMA is has been historically based in Atlanta, Georgia, and LOMA is about 100 years old. So like I said, one association, one member-driven association supporting the entirety of the industry across the world.
Thanks so much. And you and I have had several conversations this year so far about some of the, I can only describe them as thoroughly ambitious research projects that you've been leading. So I'd love to hear a high level on what the catalyst was and what the focus areas are.
Yeah, thank you. Thoroughly ambitious is definitely a way to put it. So a couple of things. We partnered LIMRA Loma. We partnered with BCG, Boston Consulting Group. I think it was around 2019. And Fraser, we did a global survey of executives, right? So and it was called "What's on the Mind of Global Executives," and we broke it up into four regions as far as data collection and collation is concerned. And what was interesting, and probably no surprise to you and your viewers, technology was rated as the number one or number two, close second concern consistently across all of these executives that we interviewed, right? So I think we had hundreds of executives. So it's a pretty prominent thing where we are in society today. fundamentally believe we are in the middle of, or at least at the start of the fourth industrial revolution, right? If this COVID pandemic has proven one thing, our society would be vastly different if we didn't have this hyper reliance on technology that we have. So no surprise, this was on the minds of our global executives. So we decided to do something about it, right? So partnering with McKinsey and Company in January of 2020, we interviewed 13 of our senior executives, right? So these are president and CEOs of some of our member companies. And we had a chairman of that group, Brandon Carter, who is the president and CEO of USAA Life. And we're like, look, we're going to present you with a list of about a dozen technology topics, because let's be honest, Fraser, people like me, CIOs, CTOs, are going to people like these CEOs and drowning them in a bowl of acronym soup, right? So we need to be cloud first, we need to be agile first, we need to be mobile first, we need to do safe. So it's difficult for a business leader to be able to separate the wheat from the chaff, right? So our goal was to be able to be a pragmatic thought leader. And let's pick off out of these 12, 13 topics, pick off three. Pick off the top three things that you would like us, your association, to go deep on in terms of research in partnership with McKinsey and Company. So the top three identified were data and analytics, platform modernization, and digital transformation, right? And obviously digital transformation kind of took a little bit of a turn, Fraser, because in March, what happened? The world virtualized, right? So we had to take a little bit of a pause before we returned to it. And then we started getting feedback, Fraser, from our members that COVID has been like this catalyst, this steroid, right? To boost all of the digital transformation activities that were already on the docket for our member companies. So when we started actually doing the work, Fraser, with these subcommittees, we had 52 business and technology leaders across these three subcommittees from our member companies, right? So it wasn't something that we went off and did autonomously. We did that with the industry. So it was truly an ambitious initiative in that we had like a vast cross section of the entirety of the industry helping us surface the insights that we have.
Fantastic. And I think that like the sort of broader research report is going to be a little bit beyond the scope of our conversation today, but I'll certainly be sharing more later. But I think, you know, in our previous conversations, specifically around digital transformation, I really got to see the passion come out of you, which was exciting. But I'd love to share, or I'd love to have you share a little bit more about that. What were the kind of sort of tremendous findings there?
Yeah, thank you. So I want to predicate my passion for digital transformation for because of few things, right? I think it's been widely discussed that in terms of the broader financial services, retail banking is about 3 to 5 years ahead of property and casualty, and property and casualty in terms of digital transformation is about 3 to 5 years ahead of life insurance, right? In general, and it was about like 4 years ago, Fraser, that digital transformation truly caught on across our industry. And we have to give ourselves a ton of credit, right? There was a ton of time, labor, effort, resource, disruption that contributed overall to the transformation of our industry. And we never 4 years ago, we really had a good definition of what digital transformation means, right? But we have come a long way as an industry, as organizations have invested in truly transforming themselves from the inside out. So in my opinion, I think COVID has only accelerated that, hyper accelerated that. So I think I'm passionate about digital transformation for a couple of reasons. One, I think it's important for us to understand how far we've come to be able to pragmatically project out how far we still have to go, right? From a data-driven transformation point of view. I think the purpose of digital transformation, in my opinion, Fraser, has two main goals, right? Number one, it needs to improve efficiencies and operational efficiencies and reduce costs across organizations. And I think a lot of things go into it in terms of automation, in terms of achieving cloud at scale, in terms of how you can internally transform the culture of your own organization. And that's where things like Agile and Safe come in, right? And let's be honest, things like Agile and Safe have truly helped us through this pandemic primarily because of the communication and collaboration that is now natural
Mhm.
across our industry, right? Across business verticals, which have been historically siloed. And then the second thing is to improve the customer experience. Look, you talk to as many industry leaders and executives that I do, and I can tell you in our business today, the thing that people always talk about is what? CX, 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 right?
Mhm.
Customer experience is critical. So having a successful digital transformation strategy to be able to provide this hyper personalized customer experience to the insured is absolutely fundamentally critical, right? And data flows into it, right? I need to be able to have enough data to know Fraser better than he knows Fraser, so I can give you that hyper personalized customer experience, that hyper personalized digital customer experience.
No, that all resonates. Sometimes I think in my seat as a VC, it becomes very easy to take sort of the digitization of consumer experiences for granted. In the last year, we've seen businesses grow by hundreds of percentage points. And so there's obviously tremendous disruption that's probably here to stay. Some things will go back to normal, but I'd love your perspective on how you think about advising incumbents as they think about transforming their business models, as there are all these forces that are kind of pushing us back to normal.
Yeah, great question, Fraser. So there is a definite disparity and difference between incumbents and like a startup scene, right? Incumbents historically, Fraser, I'll start with number one. I think focus on the people, right? I think technology ones and zeros, right? And until quantum computing becomes a thing, it's still a binary,
Yeah.
so it's highly predictable, right? But focus on the people because they are the bedrock of our industry and the bedrock of our digital transformation strategies, right? And by that I mean our industry historically, Fraser, has always been kind of reticent on remote work and remote workers. The world on the other side of this pandemic is going to look very different than it did going in, right? Corporate America, corporate world will be very different. So I think a lot of people have now realized, hey, actually, we can expand our talent pool by hiring people that we don't necessarily have a physical location in, right? So
Mhm.
remote work, I believe, is here to stay. So LIMRA, LOMA, not-for-profit association, we react to and respond to what the industry needs, right? So we partnered with Aon. We have a product called Remote Pro. It's an assessment tool that basically the industry can take and go, hey, this is how effective Kartik is as a remote employee. And these are some of the things that I might need help with, right?
Mhm.
So phase one actually is out live for that assessment. It's intended for you as an employer, as a leader, to help your folks, your people, to be a lot more effective as remote workers. And then we'll have a leader variant of that coming up here shortly, right? So focus on the people, focus on the people, focus on the people. Number two is let's learn some new habits, right? So we have learned through our research, Fraser, that the speed of decision making across incumbents have gone up, right? They did one of these through the pandemic, right? It's this all hands on deck mentality. It's this crisis brings everyone together mindset, right? But I think the number was about like three quarters, right? Almost 75%. This is, yeah, we noticed like dramatic increase in speed of decision making. People doing huddles every day, C-suite on down communication. But I think a third of that, maybe less, maybe like 24%, actually expected this to stick around on the other side of the pandemic, right? That's pathetic, right? Like we are the people responsible for making those two new habits stick. So I think let's learn some. Look, the pandemic has been horrible for Americans. We've got over 500,000 Americans dead, right? Financial ruin, for lots of families. But there have been some silver linings, right? If you think about the positives, um, we've learned a lot of good new things about ourselves. We've learned that we can virtualize our organizations in the span of 3 to 4 days. We've learned that our business continuity plans and our disaster recovery plans actually do work at
Yeah.
scale, right? We've learned that cybersecurity is paramount 24/7, 365. So let's incorporate these new habits. So number two is learn new habits. Number three, and this was my message to incumbents as well as startups alike, right? learn the business, right? Technology is something that's going to keep changing. It's going to keep evolving. We'll read a book, we'll do courses, and we'll learn. Um, but unless you learn the business that you're trying to serve, it's really hard for us to talk about the technology required to support it, right? So learn the business, and that's where an association, Fraser, like LIMRA and LOMA comes in. Look, our goal, our prime directive, is to support and further the industry, right? And to do that, we need to have to educate professionals who are working in this industry ecosystem, regardless of what function you work in. I can guarantee you there's a LOMA course out there for you. So go to loma.org. If it's just the basics of insurance. If you're an entrant to the industry, if you came in from retail, right? We've seen a lot of people from outside the industry serve in our industry. Learn the business, and we are happy to help you with that. So, and last but not least, continue to innovate. I think innovation is going to be key. Look, the period from 2025 onwards is a whole new kettle of fish, right? When we talk about AI, I think we'll achieve AI at scale in this decade, probably towards the latter half of this decade. It's just following that Kurzweilian curve, right? But please focus on innovation, right? Let's not build better mousetraps. Think about the next generation of consumers. You're talking about Gen Z in the next 10 years. I mean, these people have had smartphones since elementary school, right? They're not going to read a life insurance contract, TL::DR. They're not going to read it, right? So we need to figure out how to change our products and services to be able to gear to the next generation of consumer.
Well, that was a far more thoughtful answer than more deep learning, which is often what you get when you ask for advice. Look, it's been a real pleasure to speak with you as always. You've been exceedingly generous with your time. So let's plan on doing this again in the fall.
Of course. Fraser, can I add one thing really quick?
Please.
So I just also want people to remember, whether you're a startup, whether you're an insurance company, and regardless of the function you serve in, think about the nobility of what it is that you're doing, and think about the nobility of who you're doing it for, whether you're writing code, architecting, configuring a firewall, authoring a dashboard. Companies have pursued digital transformation for the past several years, right? But our research, LIMRA research, shows that 52% of Americans are uninsured, which is a record low, right? And many more don't have coverage. 102 million uninsured and underinsured Americans believe they need more coverage. So COVID, obviously, like pandemics do, right, has elevated the awareness and the importance of life insurance. This is why LIMRA LOMA, we're proud to be partnering with all our member companies and our sibling trade associations to launch the Help Protect Our Families campaign. We launched that, I think, a month and a half ago. And look, if a wage earner dies, 42% of households would suffer financial hardships in 6 months. I mean, that's a real thing, right? And I think it's important for us to make sure that we understand, regardless of what we do, to understand the end user and the nobility of what it is that we're trying to do, right? So again, just focus on the end consumers. Focus on making things easier. Whether you're working on automated underwriting, accelerated underwriting, no paramed or postponed paramed, I think it's critical for us to make sure that the people who are uninsured and underinsured have access and a customer service experience that they so deserve to make it easy for them to transact with us.
Thank you so much for that thought, because I think it often does get lost. And I'll never forget when I first got into the business, I had a meeting with an InsurTech founder, and one of his first points was the reason that we have fire extinguishers in buildings is because of insurance companies. Insurance is a good thing. So thank you for not letting us lose sight of it. Before I let you go, my guess is people are going to want follow-ups, but where can people find out more about the research and more about you?
Yeah, happy to. So www.limra.com, limra.com, or www.lomaloma.org. You can follow me on LinkedIn, Kartik Sakthivel. I'm pretty sure the name will pop up here in our session. So follow me on LinkedIn, connect with me. Happy to. And look, we are your association. We're here to serve the industry. If there's anything we can do to help you, to further the interests of the industry, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. That's what we're here for.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Till next time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Fraser.
Yeah.